I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Board, do I have a motion?
I would like to move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. Any discussions or questions on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We have no public comments this evening on agenda items. So the next item on our agenda is energy update. Mr. Gibbons.
Hello, I'm going to start off with the good news about this energy update. We received this back in this kilowatt crackdown award back in May of this year. This award's a really big deal because it shows it goes out to like the most efficient and most improved building in the area, and I thought it was really great because it's been in the Louisville community, and they opened it up to outsiders in the greater Louisville area, and I thought it was really special because this was the first school out of the Indiana area to get this award. After submitting the Energy Star portfolio, this was selected for the River Valley Middle School renovations. Charlestown Middle School was also a candidate in that as well, and it's mostly due to all the HVAC designs for like the variable frequency drives per heat pumps that were installed, and also the LED lighting with occupancy sensors throughout the building. And basically, I was proud that, with this, just River Valley alone, the savings for this year is quite substantial. It was $42,463.87. I was just getting the award back in May. And then here's the bad news that will be given. Unfortunately, I can't control this. Back in on July 2nd, Duke Energy Indiana made a request before the Indiana Utility Rate Authority Commission to increase the company's rates. Duke is requesting an overall average rate increase of about 15% across all customer groups. And talking with our rep, see, we're on like a secondary, we have a lot of secondary rates because we have a couple buildings on different rate structures. And it could be, they're saying the average is 15%, but for probably for our district, it's really probably about like 16.3% to maybe 17.1%. So it's just in that ballpark area. The new rates are proposed to phase over the next 2 years, like starting in 2020. They're thinking the first year is going to be a 13% on 2020, and then they'll add the 2% to get to 15% by 2021. The timing is going to depend on the regulatory commission's approval. Right now, that's when they just presented that back in July, and then it goes to the next stage. This fall, they're going to have some public hearings on it, so I encourage, if anybody's interested, to get out there and ask them more questions while they're raising these rates. Then in late 2019 and then early 2020, they're going to go before the regulatory commission again, and then to finalize a little bit of things, and then probably spring or summer of 2020 is when they're going to start implementing these new rates. Right now, Duke is saying the big reasons you can look this is online, so you can take this information from their online site. That the main reason that they're going to increase these rates are that they're going to do some new, they're going to add some new lines and substations, and also since they produce, I think right now they're saying 90% is what they produce 90% of the power from coal. New state regulations are going to require them to be a little bit more energy efficient. So the federal government's requiring them to clean up the carbon reductions. So that's probably the biggest reason overall. And then they have some other. They're going to try to do some more smart meters and stuff like that. But I think really it's going to be that carbon reduction is what they're looking for. You can go to the next slide. And then how this is going to affect us. I have this is the elementary schools. This is all their totals. First column, you can see like our yearly electrical cost for the elementaries is $442,000, 922. That's all the elementaries combined. We are gonna have Maple and Spring Hill, and as you know, those are gonna be replaced, but the new school, I would say, is probably gonna be like $40,000 on average for the year. And I have on here, the proposed increase all the way to the right side is 15%. Usually, I have it on these other ones just for if anybody was interested. Usually, we have increases annually with probably like 3 to 5%. So I was just showing like if it was like another 3% over this year, you know, it would be 13,000 for the elementaries. That wouldn't be a big hit. But if you see 15,000, it jumps up really quick, 66,000. So that's a huge deal. The next slide. Charles, this is the next one. Our secondary schools, all of our high schools. And that's totals $1 million in electrical costs a year with all of them. And 15% increase is going to be $165,000 if you total all those as well. Our other buildings with our transportation, Federal Center, all those, that totals up to be $102,000, and then 50% on that would be $15,000 on the next slide. And overall, if you look at all our elementary, secondary, other buildings, this 15% increase, it's right at $246,000, so that's almost like a $300,000 increase in 1 year. That's really huge. That comes out of our operations fund, so it's going to be a big liability pretty much in the future to, try to talk with Duke and see why they're raising these rates. They are going to start, I've been talking with Duke about some solar, they are starting a solar program with like a third party where they're going to have third party purchasing that equipment and installing it on the site. That's starting up next month. I've signed up to see more information about that. So they're going to get with us on a couple of buildings to see what we could get if they install solar, because they have to get off, what they're trying to do is get off the grid pretty much on the using the coal. And also, if somebody's interested, if you don't see Charlestown Middle School, Utica Elementary, or administration building, the reason why they're not on this, they're not on the Duke, they're not a Duke utility, they are RUMC. If you have any questions, just let me know.
So, I was looking at the elementary, I thought maybe that the yearly electrical cost had to do with square foot, because like, as you can see, Jeff High is,
Yep, correct. GFI is going to be the largest.
why, what about Riverside? Is Riverside really twice as large as like?
Yeah, I think they're like 79,000 square feet or 80,000 square feet. They're pretty big.
And how big is TJ?
They're probably about 50,000 square feet.
Okay, because TJ's cost is, they're going, of course, they don't have hallway.
And sometimes it depends on the different, like the different system. Like Riverside's got more, they have different air handling units, and like they don't have like a DX. Like if we run their front office in the summertime, we can't really, you're running the whole building instead of running like one zone pretty much on the energy management system.
Can you keep us posted on the date for that public field hearing?
Yeah, I'll
I
send
think
that
some of
out.
us would like to attend that.
Yeah.
Board, any other questions? Yes.
Do we know if any of the other utilities, for instance, White River or RMC, are they looking at these same rate increases?
They haven't said yet publicly, but I would assume that they'll probably follow suit.
And I was going through the potential forecast rates and why they're doing this. I don't see any of these that are valid reasons, not one.
Yep.
They're saying that they have to increase new lines and substations for increasing to 100,000 customers. 100,000 customers are going to bring in the money to pay for that.
Exactly.
They've talked about reducing their CO2 emissions. The CO2 emissions are dependent upon how much fuel you burn, not whether it's coal or whether it's natural gas. In fact, actually with coal, you get a little bit because you're producing some CO instead of CO2, and some of that's turned into gypsum in some plants. So, I don't buy any of this, and if anybody in the public's watching, you need to go fight this, because it's not only affecting us and what your taxes are gonna be and how that goes.
Yeah, it's
It's
gonna be
gonna affect
residential
your pocket too.
Yeah.
Because like I think it's the average home's gonna be $20 increase a month, I think, is what they state on that website. So it's gonna affect everybody pretty much.
Todd, just for clarification, the public field hearings, are those hosted by the State Regulatory Commission or by Duke?
It's the State Regulatory Commission, I think. I'll check on that too.
Thank you, and definitely,
Assuming those will be like regional.
Okay.
definitely let us know where and the dates,
Okay.
please, thank you.
I just want to present this,
Todd.
it's huge.
You know, and the board members know, we currently have a group called ESG, Energy Savings Group. You know, they've come in and reviewed our facilities and our energy consumption. Could you sort of, just a quick update on
Yeah,
on what they've done so far?
They came in and their performance contracting group, they came in probably like a couple weeks before school started, when it was nice and empty. They sat down with me, myself, and some of my maintenance mechanics. We went building by building. We probably spent a day just talking to them building by building on some of the, just our HVAC issues, lighting issues, stuff where we could save money over time. And what they do is they come in and basically they'll help bundle certain things that you have, like say you have a chiller that's breaking, like at Parkview Middle School, for instance. They'll look at, sometimes the school might not be able to afford that in the fiscal year, but what they'll do is they'll say, okay, we can go to 10 elementary schools and change all the lighting from T8 lighting to LED. And then what they do is they generate the savings from changing that to LEDs on the lighting to pay for, they bundle that together to pay for that chiller that's falling apart at Parkview. And what they do, it's kind of like having pretty much taking out a loan, like a 20-year loan, but you're not paying it back, right at the start. You're paying it back with those savings over time. And then plus, you're not paying a upfront capital cost to, pay for that, $200,000 chiller up front. What they did was they sat down with us. They were really ecstatic because I used to do that stuff in the past, so they were overblown with how much information they had to work with, because I gave them a lot more detailed information than they're used to, because in the past, sometimes they have to search for months on certain buildings to find out different things. But what we did was go through building by building, anything that we know that's pretty much going to fall apart. And it's not like something that's, next year. It's more like this stuff's this old in 10 more years. We're forecasted, that's the thing we haven't done in the past, is have like a good 10-year plan on something, or 20-year plan outlook, saying, let's replace certain things now before it's too late, instead of abandoning things.
And we have a tentative date set for them to come and present to the board on September 17th, their findings. So we're hoping they'll be here that evening to show us the results.
Board, any other questions?
Thank you.
Right, next on the agenda is the fund monitoring report.
Good evening, Board. The education fund, let's see if EMIs are getting bad or is it getting smaller print. In July, in the education fund, we received $5.7 million. We did receive the additional tax anticipation warrant loan for $3.6 million. We spent $6.1 million, and our ending cash balance in July was $5.4 million. I'm projecting by December 31st, $381,000, the education fund. In debt service, in July, we received just a small check for $25,000. I can't remember what that was for, but it was something. But we ended up having one bond payment for $115,000 plus the interest, so we actually spent $169,000. And our cash balance at the end of July was $4.7 million. We're projecting $5.6 at the end of December. In the pension bond, no revenue. We spent $640,000. Ending cash balance was just under $89,000. We're looking at about $592,000 at the end of the year. In the operation fund, I want to draw your attention to the second line in the revenue. I added local property taxes TIF district. We finally got some money in. The $400,000 is coming. We received $4,589. So that's our first payment. And you can see, we collected $1,565,000. We spent $1,791,000. So our ending cash balance is just over 4 million, and I'm projecting right now, still a tentative, it's 1,305,000 in the red. We'll start working on that to get that back to zero as much as possible. The rainy day fund, no activity, still sitting with 3,599,000 in the bank. So I'll be here to answer any questions. Go.
The money that we're going to get from the agreement that Dr. Mellon set up with the city for the $400,000 we're talking about, do you have a map, or is there a map that we can look at to get the locations of where we're going to be drawing that from?
You want it by key number? I can give it to you by key number. I have all that already.
If you could email that to me, I'd appreciate it.
Does everybody want it? I can send it to everybody on the board.
I've got it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And I think Mr. Roberts, any other questions, comments? Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as submitted by Superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. McWalter. Questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I do have a comment on the personnel report. I just noticed, and I know it's the beginning of the school year, and there's a big rush, especially for getting certain staff members into certain places, vacancies and things like that. But I did notice there were several extracurricular positions that were dated August 5th, and we're just now actually approving them. And I mean, a couple of them were like, for example, football assistant. Come on now, you know who your assistant football coach is way before August 5th. So we talked about it before, but I really feel like we need to be holding folks' feet to the fire a little bit more on following policy, because I personally don't want to approve someone that's already been working with kids and I don't know anything about it. That's a problem for me. And I just would like, there was a lot, so just for verification, April, have all of those folks had their background checks come back? They're clean, they're safe, they're good to go?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
We had the same conversation this morning, so.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? All those in favor of approval of items on the consent agenda as posted, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Now we have the gifts. Oh, just kidding. We're gonna stop because Mr. Lefner's gonna.
Real quick, I want to introduce someone who has been picked as the principal intern at Jonathan Jennings Elementary. She's in the audience, and that's Amy Doherty. And congratulations to Amy. She's been with Mayor Funk a long time, and has done a fantastic job. And I'm sure she'll do a great job in this role too.
Thank you. I'm very excited. Thank you. Almost remembered. And welcome back again, but you never left. Gifts to building now. It will be by Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Okay, we have gifts to buildings for, again, New Washington, Charlestown, Riverside, Spring Hill, and just credit club schools. I don't see anything for New Wash this time for their archery club, but I was able to go out and meet some of their archery team the other day. What was there for archery?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There are a lot of people in their community sponsoring that archery team. And some of those kids started when they were in elementary school, and now they're in middle school and still on the team. So the gifts to buildings, $18,600.
So.
$18,660, I think.
You got it.
So I move to approve the gifts to buildings as written.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Perkins. I believe I just never do that. It's okay. All those in favor of accepting the gifts to building, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much. We have 2 action items, which is First one is, well, they're both, I don't feel well today. Dr. Hartledge, I think I'm getting sick.
It's all right, it's all right. Good evening, board. We are asking to secure some additional monies through federal and state grants to support our schools. And the first one is through federal grant Title II in the amount of $355,000, $355,080.25. And the purpose of Title II Part A funding is to increase the academic achievement of all students by helping school districts improve teacher and principal quality and effectiveness. Through this federal program, state and local education agencies and state agencies for higher education receive funds on a formula basis. In exchange, agencies that receive these funds are held accountable to the public for improvements in student academic achievement through Title II. It provides these agencies with the flexibility to use these funds creatively to address challenges to teacher quality and effectiveness, whether they concern teacher preparation and the qualifications of new teachers, recruitment and hiring, induction, targeted and embedded professional development, teacher retention, or the need for more capable principals and assistant principals to serve as effective leaders. We are requesting permission to submit this grant, it's due next week, to support PD across our district in the amount of $355,080.25.
Thank you, Dr. Hartledge.
The next one.
Oh, they're-
Also, Title IV is an additional federal
Oh, right.
funding source. This grant, our formula allows us to pursue $150,250.40. It's broken up into three main focus areas under the Every Student Succeeds Act. The three areas of Title IV are intended to, Part A, support well-rounded education by incorporating advanced classes, fine arts, foreign languages, STEAM, and other innovative programming to create safe and healthy schools through the utilization of social emotional learning. And the third strand of that is effectively utilizing technology through properly preparing staff, as well as providing high-quality digital learning experiences for underdeserved students. Title IV funds are available to all public and charter schools that receive Title I funding, as well as equitable services for our non-public schools. So a portion of all of these grants always go to our non-pubs. So we are requesting permission to submit this federal IV grant to the Department of Education to support student needs across the district in the amount of $150,250.40.
Thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Board, I need a motion to approve the grant submittal of the Title II and Title IV federal grants.
Madam President, I move that we give approval to apply for the Title II, Title IV federal grants.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Questions or comments, board?
I have one small question. They have like 25 cents and 40 cents. How do you come up with that granular number?
It is a very interesting process to generate these grants and crank them out. These are all very simplified compared to Title I. But I did want to share with you, like the Centerstone contract that you approved for us to enter into, with these monies will offset that programming for our social emotional learning and lots of the professional development that we offer. But it's very intricate the way the formula is, and my hair may be a different color weeks from now, but we're getting there.
Now, is this first time or are these grants available each year?
These grants are available every year. Last year, Title IV is the newest grant, and last year was the first year that we pursued that.
Okay.
Is it about, are we getting about the same amount this year, or more or less?
It is, Title IV is a little bit more. It was around 142 last year, and Title II about the same. So,
Thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Any other questions?
All those approve of the submitting of the federal
Title II and Title IV grants, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, and we have one more, well, two more, by Dr. Hurley.
Okay, these are both grants. One is a federal grant, one is a state grant to support our English language learners in the district. The first one is the federal Title III grant, language instruction for English language learners and immigrant students. These funds are supplemental and are used above and beyond the local education agency's ELL development services that are supported by the educational fund. These help support English learners who are identified as level 1 to 4.9 on the WIDA assessment. In order to meet the requirements for serving English language learners, the primary objective of this is to increase their proficiency in academic achievement in the core academic subjects, to provide high-quality PPE for our staff, engage families of English language learners in the school community and the educational process. We are requesting permission to submit a federal Title III grant to the Department of Ed for consideration to support our needs in the amount of $81,774.
Thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Board, I need a motion to have a second.
You want to do it?
Just kidding.
The second grant is the non-English speaking program. It is a state-funded program that was approved by the General Assembly in 1999. This program provides supplemental funding for eligible school corporations to serve English language learners, to assist in delivering the legally required law, which was a case back in 1981. And the purpose of this funding is to provide ELL instruction to K through 12 English language learners to increase their language proficiency and achievement. And we are requesting permission to submit the state NESP grant in the amount of $252,180.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Board, I need a motion to grant permission to submit the federal grants of the ESP in Title III.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Do I have a second? Sorry, second, Dr. Clayton. Questions, comments? Thank you for writing all that. I know it's a lot of work. Grant writing is a lot of work. It is. It's a lot of hoops, a lot of numbers, and we appreciate you.
But thank you. But it is a great benefit to our students.
It is.
So.
The last two were like over $400,000. All right, all those in favor of granting permission to submit the federal grants Title III and NESP, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. There are no public comments on non-agenda items. Reports, requests, and board comments.
I have two granddaughters that started school in Greater Park within the last 2 weeks. One kindergarten, one preschool. Both of them had an amazing start, loved school, loved their teachers. So I just want to thank everybody who made the start of the school year great.
I have something very positive to say about our Director of Transportation, Mr. Shank. I've had several calls of, been in school buses, not here on time, not picking up right, and all that business. And he has been very, he solved them all very quickly and very professional. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I would also like to commend, yes, our transportation department and all our staff. I have a grandson who's special needs. He's highly allergic to just about life. But whatever the case, he gets dropped off at our house, and my wife happened to be there to pick him up. And because of his especially IEP, then the transportation department went to the trouble of making sure that the bus driver and assistant with her knew to wipe down even the handrail so that he didn't come in contact with something that could create a problem for him, which I thought that's just going above and beyond that it shows what our staff does. I know that our food department does exactly the same kind of thing. They go through this kind of stuff. I also had the opportunity Sunday to speak with another special needs mom. she was bragging about the extra effort that her son's special education teacher goes for him at River Valley to make sure that he's nonverbal. He's cerebral palsy, fairly far down the street, the line. And that teacher goes to the extra effort to make sure that she sends home with him documentation of what he's been doing during the day, so the parent actually understands and sees it and can communicate with him at the level that she can. And it's just, again, our staff goes way above and beyond everything. And I'm just really proud of it.
Mr. Hawkins? Mr. Buckles?
Well, I want to thank the teachers and administrators. I know it's very, very difficult, and I've seen a lot of really cool, positive things on the social media about what teachers are doing, what they did before school started. I know the administrators have had a shovel in their hand all summer digging to make things work, and I know it's hard, and you're in there when the climate's not good, you're in there when it's tough. So thank you, whoever's watching, and you all for being here. Also, Todd, I appreciate your report that you did. I did not acknowledge it, and I apologize. I know it's a lot of work, and I know delivering bad news is difficult, but thank you very much for that and being upfront and forthcoming. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckles.
But just knowing that the beginning of school is always tough, but I didn't hear any complaints at all. And I want to compliment staff and administration for all the hard work getting things, because I know there were some changes made at the last minute. So in doing that, we came out pretty good with it. So we look forward to an outstanding year. We've got outstanding people, so everything should be outstanding.
Well, a lot of dittos for some of these things going on, and especially in the area of transportation. As I said a little while ago, yesterday, I was able to go out to New Washington and see their archery team practice. And I shot one too. But it was just very interesting. It's a different kind of sport, but they've kind of run with it from the elementary level, and now they're in middle and high school. And they were just so serious, because it is a very serious sport, and safety is just everything.
There's a pointy thing, John.
Yes, and they were just, to see that age group be so very serious and disciplined was just really, really a neat thing, but they were having fun at the same time.
I saw a video that Tara did, and it was adorable. And I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews that go to the district, and they're very excited, even though one of the teachers abandoned one of my nephews to be an intern or something. So he'll never forget that, being abandoned by his 5th grade teacher. But other than that, things are going really well. Kids are having a great time, and it's just, it was an awesome start to the year. And I was just thinking today about, as I was responding to someone on Facebook who was asking questions, that I just wish we could get as many, or even have as many positive things as we got negative things. And I know it's not, we're busy, and we only take surveys when we're angry, and we only call people when they make us angry. It's just great that Ms. Goki started this positive kind of flow through here, because it's just nice when we hear good things too. So don't forget to tag us and call us and whatever. Tell us good things.
And one more thing.
Yes.
I had talked to Erin, and she said that if we do post on social media something good, if it's a public post, so that everybody can see it, not just our family and friends,
Yeah.
then she can go ahead and link to that in our system, but otherwise she can't do that. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
Sure, you're a good one to go.
Yeah,
And
whatever you're
hashtag we are greater, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you, Mr. Longo.
I have the same comments as you. For all the transition that's taken place in the last 2 months, and we've had a lot of new administrators in different schools, I'll be honest, I was worried about the start of school. And thanks to our principals, our certified staff, classified staff, transportation department, I think we've had a really good start to the school year. So I'm thankful for all the people involved, and we just got to keep it going.
Renee, anything? Thanks. good start, yeah. All right, board, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, and thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, crazy. Thanks, guys, have a good night.